Hello and welcome to Cheat Sheet, the podcast where we do the work so you don't have to. I'm RidgeandFrost.
I'm Sophy Ridge, and it is the 11th of November, Armistice Day, and this is what's happening today.
The BBC has just days to decide how it will respond to a threat of a lawsuit for $1 billion from the President of the United States.
Climate conference COP30 is taking place in Brazil, but is it a lot of hot air?
And a story that will hopefully inspire you to be more resilient when you find out how many times it has taken someone to pass their driving theory test.
And it's not you, Wilf, right?
It's not me.
Okay. So the BBC has until Friday night to respond to a threat from Donald Trump or face legal action. So this is a real rushing up of what we've seen between the two. The US president says he will sue for $1 billion, so that's £760 million, if the BBC doesn't retract a Panorama episode which edited a speech to make it look like he was encouraging violence among his supporters.
I think, the first point for me to note on this is that he's saying he will sue them if he hasn't received an apology and compensation for damages by the end of the week. If not, he'll file a lawsuit for up to $1 billion. Clearly, the BBC's already apologised publicly. They now have to respond to his specific letter, which presumably they will do. My guess is, Sophie, even though Trump has form here with suing US news organisations recently, once ABC for calling him, saying he was found liable of rape, which was wrong, and once for CBS for wrongly editing a rival's interview, both settled for $15 and $16 million respectively, and he used defamation law to do those lawsuits. So even though he has form here in that regard, I imagine once he gets the apology, he'll draw a line under it, because I'm not even sure where he'd file this, in the US or in the UK, and can he actually establish that he is due damages when this aired in the UK a week before the election and he won the election anyway? I doubt it. But he's going to extract another pound of flesh with a public letter of an apology, which no doubt he'll parade around on his social media.
Yeah, it feels like another attempt by Trump, doesn't it, to just, I guess, maximise the embarrassment for the BBC. We've already, as you say, had the apology from Samir Shah, the chair of the BBC, for an error of judgment, the Director General, Tim Davie, and the boss of BBC News, Deborah Turness, both resigning over the issue.
So the Justice Secretary, Sophie, might have a tricky day back in Parliament. Of course, he had a pretty tricky day last week on Wednesday when he filled in for the Prime Minister on Prime Minister's questions. Tell us why that hasn't gone away yet. There's been no Parliament for a couple of days and he's got to rush back and answer some more questions on the same issue.
Yeah, so Parliament has been on recess, which is kind of like a mini holiday where MPs are not in Westminster, they're in their constituencies. But the pressure hasn't gone away on David Lammy. And this is just an ongoing issue about prisoners being mistakenly released. And it should be said, the reason there's pressure on David Lammy is firstly because of his response to it, the fact that it was felt that he wasn't transparent to the House of Commons when they knew that some prisoners had gone missing. But secondly, because the numbers have just gone up, and they really have. So there were 262 prisoners in England and Wales mistakenly released in the year to March. That's up from 115 the previous year. And there is speculation that is mounting that the reason behind this rise is because of the government's early release scheme. So the fact that because they feel that prisons are full, that there is this crisis in overcrowding, they've been having to release people early from their sentence, and that this has effectively caused confusion. So there's an awful lot of things for David Lammy to clear up here. And
he's clearly going to be under pressure, having not performed well, specifically in Parliament last week.
Yeah, so he was asked 5 times, 5 consecutive questions about whether or not a prisoner had been released by mistake from jail, and he effectively kind of dodged the question, really. And I think that's why there's particular pressure on him. Now, the next story is pretty tough to hear. It's a really horrendous story. So a 34-year-old woman has died. It was after she was stabbed in the neck outside Birmingham New Street Station on Friday night. And I think one of the reasons why this is such a chilling story is that police believe it was an unprovoked attack. So this happened on Friday night. And Dejason Raphael, a 21-year-old, has been charged with the incident and appeared in court yesterday. Katie Fox, the woman, has been named as. She was fighting for her life in hospital over the weekend, but then died of her injuries. The Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, has spoken out on this. She said she's been shocked by the incident and more police are patrolling the city as a result.
So it feels like we've been talking about it for at least a week or so already, but the UN's climate conference in Brazil has officially begun. This is commonly referred to as COP, and it's taking place in Belém, which is close to the Amazon rainforest and often named the lungs of the world because of the amount of oxygen it produces, but has been deforested. And it's an interesting place for it to be hosted because under President Bolsonaro, Brazil was seen as, moving away from some of this area, but under President Lula, now moving back towards it all.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the shift, actually, because the new president, as you said, has called on the world to defeat climate denial and fake news. So one of those quite strong voices against those quite prominent world leaders, including Donald Trump, I should say, who have been calling climate change a hoax and all that kind of thing. So he says that further and faster action is needed. And it's the 30th round of negotiations with the aim to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, which would avoid the worst impacts of climate change. So that's the aim.
I'm just going to pause and say, I think the people at COP need a new comms plan, at least. Maybe other areas too, but I think it just looks increasingly ridiculous. I didn't even know it was only starting now. We started talking about this a week ago. It looks increasingly ridiculous to gather all of the world's leaders for weeks, not days, in remote locations that are very hard to get to, and by the way, take planes and everything else to get there, to just announce more of the same. What has been groundbreakingly different in the last couple of years? Have you had to host this annually with all of these people over lots and lots of weeks? And the critical point as well, whilst the two biggest polluters, the US and China, aren't there.
Yeah.
So it just starts to look a little bit silly. And that's coming from people who care passionately about this issue, and believe entirely in this issue, but you need to bring the world along with you. And I think increasingly they're at least dropping the ball when it comes to their comms on this issue.
Yeah, I think the point you make actually about the difficulty of it and the time taken is an important one, because it just means that some of these really high profile people are just not going to show up, right? It all makes it more likely that they're not going to show up, or they'll just send a representative. Mm-hmm. So, Wilf, how many times did it take you to pass your driving test?
I'm afraid I was very anal on this, as usual with lots of things. I passed within about a month of turning 17.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you actually?
Yeah.
I love that.
I've been practicing for a long time in a field, legally. Maybe that's not legal. I think it is.
Don't come after Wilf. It was a long time ago. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah. So I passed quickly.
The reason I've asked the question, by the way, is because the AA says that one learner driver has finally passed their test on, get this, the 75th attempt. 75 tries. I mean, you think by 63, you might be like, maybe this isn't for me.
Yeah. So congratulations on your persistence. And each test, by the way, costs 23 quid. So again, maybe there should be a rule that after 10 it's free, because it starts to be punishing for someone if they can't pass this. I don't know. But you know what? Our team have given us some great stats here. Another poor learner has taken the test 128 times and still hasn't passed.
No, they still haven't passed.
Oh, God.
That is, that kind of breaks my heart. Although maybe, I'll be honest, maybe these people shouldn't be on the roads. It's controversial to say.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, but the theory test is different. They might be great drivers and they might understand basically all the rules, but not be very good at exams.
Or the hazard awareness one. That always felt a little bit,
By the way,
random
if
to
they put
me.
the test on for us today, we'd probably fail.
Yeah.
Everybody, please drive safe. And that does it for us on Cheat Sheet today.
And I should say, if you've got a story that you want us to cover, then email us. The email address is cheatsheet@sky.uk. And remember to follow the feed if you don't want to miss an episode. See you next time.